Broadcasting live from the IRSMedic studios, it's Parental Advisory. And thanks for joining us on Parental Advisory. One thing I'm proud of is that we don't often jump on a news story bandwagon. We try to avoid the big stuff.
And I think that's what we're going to be doing today.
But, like we ignored Mark Zuckerberg and his stupid investments, and we don't ever talk about Obamacare.
Right.
But today we are going to talk about the Panama Papers.
Yeah.
And let's talk about how it's not a scandal. That's my theory. It's a non-scandal scandal.
Well, no, there is a scandal, but it's not the scandal you think it is.
It is not.
Yeah.
So for the facts, it's a massive leak of documents from an anonymous source, 11.5 million financial and legal records dating back 4 decades, allegedly connected to Panama law firm Mossack Fonseca, which helped establish secret shell companies and offshore accounts for the wealthy. Okay. So far they found 12 current or former world leaders, 128 other politicians and public officials. Vladimir Putin, supposedly he's not on the list, but a lot of his associates are.
Yeah, and I would just say, I know we have the list of some of the more popular ones on here, but I don't even want to mention them.
No.
I don't think we should, because it's complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit what has occurred, and everybody is spun completely backwards on this. So there is a scandal. Oh, there is a scandal, but it's not the one that so many people have sucked down so willingly.
Yes, and when you said let's do a podcast on the Panama Papers, I started doing some investigation, and my first thought was, where's the scandal? I couldn't figure it out. Why is everybody talking about this? Why is this a news story? And I came across something that said exposing a system that enables crime, corruption, and wrongdoing hidden by secret offshore companies. Dun, dun, dun. 2 things. Number 1, let's say there was scandal and laws broken. It's politicians and people that have a ton of money. Do we think they all follow the rules?
Yeah.
Is this news?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of these these politicians. They're sort of, in order to get a job at the UN, you're not necessarily on the side of truth and justice. You're on the side of corruption and payoffs. That's why you're there. I mean, the whole system, the criminal system, is sort of how these politicians run and sort of how foreign aid works, and all that. Remember, USA for Africa, all that money that Live Aid raised went right to the dictators to say, hey, thanks, now I have a little bit more money to protect myself from these people who are probably going to uprise and kill me.
Yes.
Way to go. There's so many actual things going on. This is what you're focusing on, where the money is now. And this is really, I think, why your perspective on this is the same as mine. You've been here a while, so you know how things work in reality. That just having money offshore doesn't mean you're doing something criminal. That trying to keep your affairs secure is actually pretty frickin' reasonable, and that you should have a fundamental right to secrecy. That, and I think where we see is Americans are so used to the IRS knowing every damn thing about you that we just accept it as normal. But let me tell you something. It's actually really, technically speaking, fucked up. It really, really is. The government should have no interest about what we do, but because they want to tax it on you, they're saying, now it's our interest. But tell me how this doesn't violate other things. But the government wants its money. The government gets to decide how they're going to get their money. So we just sort of accept it. Well, yeah, secret account. What the hell is a secret account anyway? I don't even, secret what? Because you don't know everything about it? The public doesn't know everything about this thing? It makes it secret? What the hell's wrong with that anyway?
Yeah.
What the hell?
My account is secret because nobody knows my account number.
Right.
Nobody knows how much money
right.
is in there.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you.
Right. It's secret.
It's my money.
That's some shady business you're doing there. Oh.
And what's, some of the articles sort of mention quickly is that so far the documents do not necessarily indicate any illegal activity.
Yep. Except that does indicate one illegal activity. The person who fucking leaked it. That person should be in prison, and whoever sponsored this should be in prison.
Because it was sponsored.
It was sponsored.
Yeah.
It was clearly sponsored, as you were on one of the websites for the Institute for Concerned Journalists, or whatever the hell that group is, the front for for the Center of Public Integrity, right? That's their name.
Yeah.
So there it is. People are just like, well, they say they're for public integrity. You know, they gotta be. They gotta be. You know, no one would ever lie. I mean, that's what just confuses me so much. You have, I think, smart people who are completely duped by this. Holy shit, what a scandal. Rich people have money in sophisticated bank accounts. Holy shit. Can you goddamn believe it? It's just shocking how and it's, you know, just appealing to people's greed. Well, I don't have it. They have it. Well, we need to get some of that for us, you know, for our free stuff. It's just disgusting inside and out.
And I think about the law firm, Mossack Fonseca. Yeah. They have a 9-page statement they released, and basically, you know, saying that in 40 years of business, they've never had any issues. They said the firm may have been a victim of a data breach. Nothing we've seen in this illegally obtained cache of documents suggests we've done anything illegal. And that's very much in keeping with the global reputation we've built over the past 40 years of doing business the right way. And I love how you said, so let's say you wanted to take somebody out and you go to McDonald's and you put your polonium in the burger.
Yeah.
Is it McDonald's fault?
Yeah, that the person's there. So they're saying, well, people who've done nasty things around the world take their money, invest it here. Well, look, the person taking your money doesn't know exactly what you do. Oh, I heard this rumor, and this person says this. I don't know. I don't see anything. Look, what I do know is I'm not going to be part of any criminal conspiracy going forward. What's wrong with that? And it's sort of like, well, this is shady money. People say, what's shady about it? Well, show me something that tells me it's shady. You have conjecture. Okay, maybe some of it's right. I'm sure some of it is. I'm absolutely sure some of the money is from, I guess, I don't know what is.
Drug lords?
Drug lords, I guess. But I mean, usually the drug lords just keep it in cash, right? Because if you keep it in cash, guess what you don't have to do? Report a damn thing. It's just in cash. So if you're really looking to do shady things, you just have pallets and pallets of cash. You don't necessarily go and do this because, I mean, here it is. We haven't even heard of this firm before from any of the disclosures of the IRS. So my feeling is like, yeah, they probably are on the up and up. They have a lot of exposure here. They're not going to say, well, geez, we can make a lot of money doing sophisticated things the right way, or we can make a lot of money and risk everything by taking crappy clients. They don't need to do that. You don't. It's like they can afford to be ethical.
Yes.
They're not like a little guy who's like, okay, I need some money here. Let me, I'll take that
cool.
for
We'll
you.
take care of that.
Yeah, it's just, I feel, I mean, they've been smeared and did nothing wrong. And something about the hack is that likely, and this is an internal hack. There's no amount of security that's going to stop someone who's authorized to access stuff from accessing stuff. Maybe they could have some trip to say, wait a second, there's a huge download. Why is this person using so much bandwidth for everything? But maybe the person staggered it. Who knows? But it is really one of the problems with security. People think, well, I need to have this password and this. It's like, it's not the password. The person has the password. They set the password. Now they have it. And it's just disgusting that no one is saying why. Okay, there's nothing going on here. The person who leaked this should absolutely be prosecuted. And whoever the international consortium of whatever international journalists, this is not journalism. This is criminal. This is not journalism. You are creating a story where there is no story. You're creating the story. The story is your participation in a criminal enterprise. And if you just showed me their website.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that just made both of us go.
Just pushed me over the edge.
We were saying, yeah, Chen, you're going to need to be on the censor button today because we're a little bit fired up. Because if you look at this, it is so obnoxious.
There's on the ICIJ website a game. It's a game called Stairway to Tax Heaven. Welcome to the secret world of offshore. Your goal is to navigate this parallel universe and hide your cash away. Don't worry, lawyers, wealth managers, and bankers, they're to help you. Pick a character and don't get caught. And you can pick to be a soccer player because there was a famous soccer player that was involved, a politician or a business executive. And it says, although the scenarios described are realistic, the names, characters, and incidents portrayed are fictitious. Oh, and at the bottom right-hand corner is a giant Donate Now button. And you get to pick your character, and then you play the game. Where do you want to hide your money? How do you want to hide your money? It's a game.
So it's socially shareable. So these are your journalists here. Your journalists are creating some socially shareable app that's appealing to your basest instinct of your own greed. But you're like, oh, but I'm on the side of public integrity because these rich people are doing things and I want to be rich like them. But then, I mean, who and you mentioned this, like, if you were rich, what would you do?
I would not want to pay a lot of taxes.
Right. Would you want everyone in the world to know where your money is?
No.
Now, let's just say this. If you were, say, not in a country that has the security level that the United States does, if you're in a country such as China, if you're in a country that doesn't, China's not a country that necessarily recognizes a lot of human rights, okay? If they want to do something, they do something. And in other countries, look, there's ways to raise money. And that is by kidnapping people, kidnapping people with money. And ransoming goes on all the time. Bribes happen all the time. If people know how much money you have, you are a target for violence.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way it is. And that's one of the most dangerous things about this is these idiots or criminals. These criminals are releasing this information, putting people's lives at risk, and they don't give a damn. They're putting up smart-ass little cartoons that are going to endanger somebody. Kids are going to get killed. People are going to get fucking killed here. And people are like, oh, yeah, the rich people are hiding stuff. The real crime is this nonsense. The real crime is that people can't see right through this transparent bull.
And, when people say, oh, they're hiding their money, think about people that win the lottery. What's the first thing they do? They get an attorney.
Well, they should.
Yeah. And they say, okay, well, how do I pay the least amount of taxes? If I take lump sum, wait, if I do this. So you don't want to pay a lot of taxes.
Right. Who's the one?
The wealthy,
right.
the wealthy
right.
really should.
There's not one person who pays more than they should. Or actually, no, the U.S. Treasury, I did a blog article on this years ago. The U.S. Treasury does take donations to it. So if you want to pay more, you can. And this was, I think, in response to Warren Buffett, who insisted that the tax code needed to be higher because he wasn't paying enough, even though he was taking elaborate steps to pay less. It's like, well, why don't you just, treat it all as ordinary income, bro?
Yeah.
Then you could pay more and not go through all the stuff. But, there's somebody else, right? Yeah. Oh, I want other people to pay, but not me. And that's the way it is. Look, you don't want to pay. You want other people to pay. That's human nature. But don't think that is some sort of virtue. That's just human nature. And the fact is, if the situation is the same, you do the same damn thing, you would want to pay less and not have people in your business. That's just natural.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. So when it comes to the Panama Papers, so far only about 211 people with U.S. addresses have been found. And everyone's up in arms. Why are there so few Americans on there? Plus, 211 only have U.S. addresses. We don't know they're U.S. citizens.
Yep.
But, this is not representative of all those, of people putting money in offshore accounts. Some people have valid reasons to put money in offshore accounts. They're not trying to hide it. They're reporting it, or they don't know they have to report it.
Yeah, especially if you're in a country where, like somebody could come and take your money, like the United States, right? They can, in a lot of countries around the world, they just take your money. So you want to have it in a place that's secure.
Right.
You want to have places that's access to it. So there's really legitimate reasons to do so. And I think one of the big reasons why, this is a targeted list. So there's a political motivation behind who's released. So are there more Americans on this? Maybe, maybe not. Here's the key difference. And this is sort of what also frustrates me about this is that they're able to throw all these people as tax evaders, sort of imply that they are, right? Well, here's the thing. All these people around the world, their countries don't have universal tax jurisdiction in the same manner that the U.S. does.
Right.
So if they move it to another place, there's no tax evasion. They're not doing anything criminal. But the impression is that they are trying to do something criminal because the American bias that every other country in the world is as horribly invasive as the IRS exists.
Yep. And now Americans can actually form shell companies right here in the U.S. They don't have to go to Panama.
Yeah, why? And that's another big reason. Well, I also say that, Mossack Fonseca looks to be legitimate, and they would likely, because if it does, like, oh yeah, here's all the Americans, oh, and everyone's in compliance.
Yes.
Because that's what's so far. It's like, yeah, everybody's in compliance. It's like, okay, so that sort of hurts your narrative that these guys were doing something scummy. So it's like, you kind of wonder why. There's a reason why this was released, and they already had, this app looked like it took some time to develop. This social sharing thing took some time to develop. There was a whole team. Oh, let's make the character this character. Okay, we're going to make a flat. We're going to make a flat graphic design. This is how we're going to use it. Okay, how's this integrate with our coding? That's a huge project to get going. Right, that didn't happen overnight, spontaneous. That was not somebody grabbing some code and putting together. That took a lot of thought. They put a lot of thought into this. This is very designed. Everything that they're leaking is so friggin' designed to make you think that what we need in this world is more government control so that we know everything about everything.
But don't track my iPhone.
Don't. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Offshore reporting, it's likely scared a lot of Americans in trying to hide their money because the penalties we've talked about are huge.
Right.
So more and more people are actually coming into compliance.
More people coming to compliance. There's also and also people just have it in regular accounts. They're just sort of the people who aren't coming clean. They're just looking at it as like, okay, maybe I can get away with it. They're not these millions of dollars. They're just, they're somewhere 500,000, 10 million. They're not at the level where they would go to do these sophisticated structures. That's really where most of the non-compliance you'll find is. When you have a ton of money, you can afford to be ethical. And you could afford all of these things. And in fact, some people say that the tax code is actually a bludgeon that the wealthy use to keep the up-and-coming wealthy down because they don't have all the tools available to pay lower in taxes and make sure there's not going to be one damn thing out of compliance.
And the theory is that the U.S. is sort of becoming the greatest tax haven in the world itself.
Right. And that's also another reason why. It is. And I would just say the people who were doing things illegally, illegal banking, they've just take cash their money out and sitting in safety deposit boxes. And they're wondering what the hell to do.
Yeah.
So they're not really banking. And bankers are looking into this. They're not, very few people are going, a large company is not going to risk everything simply so that you could save a little bit in taxes. They're not going to risk their reputation. It's not worth it because they can find somebody who doesn't want that. Like, you know what? Why don't you go down the street there? Because you could find someone who is willing to do it. You can find that person. And then when they're caught, right? They're like, okay, well, I'll make a deal. Let me tell you everything that everyone else did. So now it's perfect. Yeah. Because now the authorities have all this great evidence on all the people that were doing all these nasty things.
Yeah. And when it comes to the U.S. Being a tax haven, I read a really great quote online. It said that giant sucking sound you hear, it's the sound of money rushing to the USA, which works out well for us.
Yeah.
The OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, now they created new global disclosure standards, but the U.S. has said, no, we're not going to. You want us to tell you about our banks? Oh, no, we're not going to do that. We just want to know about your banks.
Right. With the compliance costs that FATCA imposes on all other foreign countries, those, that's just, no, we're not going to do those.
No.
That's, those are really costly for us, our U.S. banks.
We see how much it's costing you, and we don't want it.
And it's really invasive.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and do it, and we won't.
Yes. So a lot of wealthy foreigners are moving their fortunes out of the offshore havens and into places like Nevada, Wyoming, and South Dakota, which are exempt. And why explain why they are?
Well, there is no reporting. FATCA is a one-way street. That's what it is.
Well, why those states specifically?
Okay, well, Nevada is a great example because Nevada is there's a legal term known as piercing the corporate veil. I love that one. I love it. So basically, what it is if a creditor or somebody saying, "Hey, look, man, you're trying to claim limited liability between you and that entity. But that entity, man, it's basically you. So we can pierce the corporate veil and ignore the corporate entity and go right to you." Well, I'm pretty sure on this, okay? This is not me, do not cite as law. I am fairly certain there's not one case in Nevada where the corporate veil has ever been pierced. Okay, so that's really important. Nevada protects the entities. And so it's going to be very difficult for someone to go through and to see exactly certain things about that. So, and I believe Wyoming's the same way. So that's why it's so, beneficial. You can really do a great job using some of these in trying to conceal your identity. I did get a book years ago on how to erase yourself or something like that. Ooh. It was a lot of work. I'm like, I'll just take the risk. It was a lot of, because the guy had some interesting ways of how to create complete secrecy behind your life. And he said, you needed, like, the first thing is you needed a ghost address, and an address a real address where you could collect the mail and no one else would. So, and I would start thinking about ghost address. So you were looking for a house that maybe burned down where the mailbox was still there. And I was like, okay, that's sort of what my hobby was. I'm like, what would I use for a ghost address? That was really your first thing. I'm like, oh my God, this is really, really hard, right? It's a lot of work. I mean, it can be done pretty good, pretty well, but it's hard. So the thing is, you can't, looking for complete secrecy,
anonymity.
You're not likely going to get it, and to get nearly there is, it's going to become a full-time job and you'll go nuts. So you want to take basic precautions. You want to take the easy ones that are going to give you that highest marginal return. Maybe not so worry so much about using a ghost address. Nevada has mail forwarding centers that look like real addresses. That's another thing too. So it's a really great place. Also, there's no state income tax in Nevada. So that's a great thing. Like, oh yeah, have a Nevada corporation, then you don't have to worry about it. And Nevada is also one where I don't think they're reporting as much stuff to the IRS.
Really?
Yeah, they're one who's like, I don't know if we're going to report that, because all the other states with an income tax, IRS will share everything with you because they want it. So, in Connecticut, as soon as your adjusted gross income goes up, the state sends you a notice like 2 weeks later. It's like, wow, you guys are fucking quick at that, huh? Jeez, you guys, there's one thing you know how to do is get that. Like, oh my God, this is already done. Yep. So that's really why Nevada is a great place. Nevada has some great trust laws too. Nevada Dynasty Trust, and Wyoming. So there's a few states. And this is the other thing too. When you're doing trying to check out where is it, there is no national database for entities. There is none. In other countries, Costa Rica, there is. You go to the National Registry. You'll say, okay, this is everything owned. How do you do a data search like that? Now you can use Lexis, some of the search things to figure out stuff, but it's still hard to say, well, who's the actual owner? Who is this really? So it provides, and now someone says, okay, this is Truth and Justice LLC. Well, you don't even know which state it's registered in. So you first have to find the state, and then guess what? You can have a different Truth and Justice registered in every state. Yes. There's nothing stopping you, like, oh, that name was taken in a different state. You can't claim that. So which is the right one? So you got to, so it's sort of difficult.
Right.
You can have a Truth and Justice that's a Connecticut corporation that has an address in Nevada, and you could have a Nevada corporation that has an address in Connecticut.
Wow. No,
you're like, well, I think this is no, it's not.
God, we are a great tax haven.
Right. So if you know sort of how the state, and that's what makes the United States great about moving things around, is because each state is in theory supposed to be its own country in a way and have its own rules for property law, in theory. And so some of those things still exist.
Got it.
And that's why, so many times, our advice to people is like, look, there's legitimate reasons to go offshore. One of the negatives here is like, are there going to be other leaks like this? That's the problem. Because here's the thing, it's like, if someone pulled this crap in America, they would certainly be in handcuffs right now. They would not be getting away with it.
No.
But here, because wherever they are, they're getting away with it. So that's another reason why. Some bank is not, it's like, whoa. Some law firms are a huge lobby in the United States.
Yep.
That's not going to fly here. So that's another reason why you might want to look to the United States is the security. It really is. And unfortunately, that someone did something illegal, and I don't know if they're ever going to, feel the repercussions of this.
Yeah. If somebody dies, who's going to go after them?
They're going to be fine, right? Yeah. There's a person probably thinks they're doing the right thing. Really.
Oh, yeah. If you're having a stairway to tax haven, you think you're doing the right thing.
Right. And again, there's no evidence of any tax evasion.
No.
None.
Nope.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening to Parental Advisory. Thanks for joining Parental Advisory, hosted by Anthony Parent, produced by Claudine Gindel, that's me, and engineered by Chris Chen. For more podcasts, visit our website at parentaladvisoryshow.com And you can like us on Facebook to submit story ideas. We'd like to thank our sponsors, IRSMedic, the law offices of Parent and Parent, LLP, real tax attorneys for tough tax problems.